Good afternoon. It's Monday, April the 13th. I'm Jennifer Methvin. I'm the Chancellor at Arkansas State University, BB, and welcome to our first episode of Doing Things Differently, Learning Something New. I have with me this afternoon one of our faculty members, Joseph Scott. Take a minute, Mr. Scott, and introduce yourself to everybody.
Hello, Dr. Methvin. Well, my name is Joseph Scott, and my primary duty at ASU-Beebe is Associate Professor of Biology. I mainly teach in the anatomy physiology classes and a little bit of kinesiology classes. I've been at ASU-Beebe for 11 years now. I'm also currently the reigning Faculty Senate President, so I'm involved a lot with the faculty and some of the issues around policies and procedures. I'm also considered the Director of Allied Health, where I assist all the other program directors that have to do with Allied Health with their duties. And also, I'm currently still finishing my doctorate at UALR, UA Little Rock now. I'm working on my dissertation with the hopes to finish in the fall. So I'm a student along with everybody else.
I have faith you're going to finish in the fall. I have faith. Well, the idea behind these conversations is since we started facing this public health crisis, the coronavirus, I have continually asked faculty and staff to think about what it is that we can learn from all of the different things, the different ways we're having to operate these days. And so this is just an attempt to capture some of those thoughts as we go along, to let students see what faculty and staff are going through, and to let faculty and staff see what students are going through. So some episodes will have students, some staff, some faculty, might even call on some of our colleagues in the ASU system or across the state at other institutions to join in with us, because I do believe there's much to learn here. So here's the idea. 5 questions, about 15 minutes, right? I get to ask 4, the guest gets to ask 1. That's only fair. So are you ready, sir? We'll just jump right in.
I'm ready.
All right. So, we moved to alternative methods of instruction on March 16th, which right now seems like a really long time ago. Tell us a little bit about what has been most challenging for you in all of your various roles, but particularly as faculty, as we have made that move outside of the classroom to alternative methods of instruction.
Well, I would say the most immediate challenge to me was how am I going to test my students? I'm traditionally a paper test in the classroom, a lab, practical in the lab kind of tester. I do have lots of stuff on Canvas, from video recorded lectures already to PowerPoints and helpful sheets, but testing I've never done in the cloud. So I had to quickly learn how to put together quizzes, exams, especially lab exams with all the tools in Canvas. So that's been the most difficult immediate effect, was getting some tests together relatively quickly while learning the software and the test formats. I would say number 2 thing that came really quickly is when we went to online learning away from the classroom and homework, is advising students. I'm also a very traditional, I want the student to come see me in my office advisor. And unfortunately, that's impossible now. So it's not my main comfort area to do every advising session on the phone or over the internet, because I feel like we miss little details. And so that's also been one of the harder parts of doing this, is to still get students registered and advised, but doing it strictly in a remote way. Yeah, I'll agree with that face-to-face interaction with students. I miss it. I'm sitting here in State Hall, practically an empty building, no students running in and out of the building. Yeah, that's right.
Miss that interaction, and you do miss things. I'll agree with that. So what have you learned so far through this process that might help you or us serve students better in the future?
Well, the aforementioned learning management software, I've learned a lot more about Canvas. I assume every instructor is going to learn something new about Canvas over the past 3 or 4 weeks and into the next month or 2, especially if they're teaching summer. So other than the obvious, the learning management software, I think for me, I always thought I had a pretty streamlined schedule where most students knew what was coming up, and it turns out that maybe it wasn't that streamlined. So, so I've spent time trying to detail a better schedule with more detailed times and exactly when what's due. So I think moving forward, that's something that I'm really picking up, and it's going to help me in the long run is having this detailed schedule of my courses that we'll be able just to roll over to next course and next course versus maybe a more vague pattern of events, but definitely that's going to be helpful moving forward. And with this COVID-19 remote learning, you got to have a pretty detailed schedule or everybody gets lost. And I quickly figured that out in week 1 or 2 when not everything, when I got a bunch of replies back at different times of the night, in the morning. So having a very precise schedule has been a lot more helpful. And it's just something I learned I had to do pretty quickly.
Yeah. So are you saying that students have been a little bit more hyper about when are things due and what is next because they're having to manage their time as well? Is that part
I
of
think
it?
so. Yeah, I think that and just having it posted, because I'm a big one about every class time I see them in class. I'm like, hey, you got a test next week. You got a test next Monday. You got a quiz this Friday. Well, I don't have them in class to remind them every class period what's coming up next. So I've had to do better about having it out there written down somewhere and reminders and the quiz clocks and stuff so that they can, they know what's up next and they don't get behind.
Gotcha. That's good. So let's talk about a little bit about you and your family and your personal situation. Yeah, I've enjoyed, as you and I have talked about, seeing many posts on your family dinners and
Right.
things that have been going on during this time. But what's been most personally challenging for you?
I mean, I would say trying to have time management that gives me family time and work time and rest time. I mean, I have 3 kids, a handful of animals, and a wife, and we all live in a relatively modest-sized house. So we're on top of each other 23 hours out of the day now. So it's been challenging to find times to work on, laundry, to turn around and work on stuff I need to do for work. When someone asks me to post something real quick for a student, it's been a real time management kind of nightmare at times. Plus, my kids are in AMI too. So luckily, my wife, she does teach preschool elementary, so she's been very helpful there. But there's been times when I've had to stop everything I'm doing and help them with, simple grammar, mathematics, science, whatever they're in. So just number one is it's been hard to do time management in one single space, because usually I go to work and I can leave all the family stuff behind, but since work's at home, family stuff's still here. I can't just ignore, one of my children when they come up and ask me to help them with homework. I got to pause or I got to find a better place to do it. Like I'm in my office right now to work on work. So just finding a better time management that works for one singular location. That's been something that's pretty difficult, both personally and professionally.
Yeah. So we've often heard people who teach online talk about it seems like you work 24 hours a day when you teach online. Have you found that to be part of that time management issue?
Yes, ma'am. I think I shared with you the other day that my hours have turned from what usually is probably about 8 to 2, 8 to 3 that I talk to students the most, to more like 12 to 1 a.m. or 12 to 12. I get very few inquiries from students before noon because they're probably working or sleeping. And then I get a ton from noon to midnight. And even I've talked to a student back and forth an email after 1 a.m. This last week. So that definitely an extension of student contact time for sure.
Absolutely. Okay, well, your turn. Before we get to my last question, I'll entertain your question, sir.
Okay, so kind of keeping to the same theme, I was going to ask you, what is a process administratively that you've seen improve while doing remote work that you will probably continue on even after COVID-19 hopefully goes away pretty soon?
Yeah, hopefully so. Okay, well, maybe I'll answer this in a couple ways. For me personally, in my work, it has also seemed very much, I have said this many times, it seems like since March the 2nd, we've done COVID 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There really has been what it has felt like. And so my day is structured very, very differently And I have returned to some habits that are really good for me, more reading and writing. I'm an avid reader, but I generally do that only in the evenings at home. And I'm an avid writer, love to write, take lots of notes, and I've had to write write a lot of communication since it started.
Right.
But reading and writing helps me slow down, think, and process. So my pace has been a little slower, a little more thoughtful, partly because these are very heavy decisions we have to make, about everything from the budget impact to the impact on students and all these things, but partly because I've made myself stop, take a little reading break, write my thoughts out a little bit more, journal a little bit more. And that's how I process. You remember, I taught English.
Right.
So for me personally, I'm going to try to make myself keep that habit up, even in throughout the workday. When things get back to normal, people start pulling in here and they'll start speeding back up again. I'll start trying to go 90 to nothing. But those pauses to reflect are important, and I think they've been very helpful. So I want to try to keep that up. Administratively for the college, I think we have learned some things, or are learning some things about how students like to be communicated with.
Right.
And that I think we'll keep. I think it will impact all of us. You said it yourself. Many of us prefer for the student to make an appointment and come be face to face with us, but we're learning they're very, very comfortable with some other modes. And so I think we have some offices who would tell you that they are getting more student contact that way than they have sitting in that office 8 hours a day waiting on students to come show up.
That's right.
So I think that will change the way we deliver some of those services, on-time services to students. We are teaching the drive-through generation, as I say, and services on time, in time, it has been their life. And so we've certainly seen this through this, and I think that'll be something that probably impacts the way we do business from here on out.
Can I ask you one thing?
Sure.
What's one thing you're reading?
What's one thing I'm reading? Can you see it? It shows backwards in my screen, so it'll show.
It's correct. I can see the title. I can't see the author.
So this is sort of like an assessment Bible, and I read it several years ago, and I thought this is a good time. We preach assessment all the time. This is a good time for me to back up and rethink about those things. So generally, Mr. Scott, I keep a piece of fiction, a biography of some kind, and then something related to work. I read 3 things at once because it may depend on,
right.
How I feel like. So that's my piece right now for work. So,
okay.
Yeah.
You have to tell me what you think about it when you're done.
Yes. All right. Well, here we go. Final question here, and we're hitting right on 15 minutes. We're doing well here. So what do you think? I always ask us to look for the good stuff. What's the silver lining? What's the silver lining in all this for ASU-Beebe, for you and your family, for our state, for our nation, anything? What's the silver lining?
Well, I think the most exciting component of this, if there's an exciting component, is that we can offer our students, the state, personally, more online offerings, more remote offerings of classes that I've just been chomping at the bit that just hoping that at some point we get to where we can offer some of our science classes at least partially online, some of our other classes. So this is pushing us in that direction. So I think our online offerings will increase, which can let us reach out and touch so many more students in the state and possibly in the country, around the world if we I've been wanting some reason to add some of these online science classes, and we got to do it now. So this could be an interesting, expansion of our offerings moving forward. So I think that's the perfect silver lining that kind of hits all 3.
I agree. That's perfect. All right. Well, Mr. Scott, I know you have your children there at home and more AMI work to do as a faculty member and as a dad slash teacher. So thank you so much for your time this afternoon. I've enjoyed our conversation.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you too.